Okay, let's unpack this. We are diving into a source document today that's, well, it's less about global politics, definitely.
Yeah, much more about the absolutely chaotic, high stakes, and honestly pretty hilarious reality of a co-op tactical gaming session.
Right. This isn't just going to be a recap, you know. It's a proper deep dive into the psychology of it all, grinding that high-level content while at the same time just getting completely distracted by seasonal event absurdity.
It's like perfect source material because you see these players really pushing the toughest stuff in the game.
Hmm.
Legendary difficulty, the summit.
Yeah, the hard stuff.
But their brains are just constantly pulled towards like spooky season cosmetics and these little event challenges.
Yeah. Trying to be elite agents and what, costumed carnival barkers all at once.
Exactly. It's that mix.
So our mission today for you listening is to give you the most entertaining and efficient information transfer we can. We're pulling out the strategic pivots, the gear frustration,
There are frustrations, definitely those.
and crucially, the truly bizarre sort of observational humor that only really happens when players are under, like, extreme pressure.
You should feel like you were right there with them, dodging bullets and pointing out weird architecture.
Think of it as a tactical overview where the hosts are maybe just as worried about their ankles as they are about incoming grenades.
That's a good way to put it.
Exactly. And the whole thing kicks off with this massive shift in the environment, right? The game world got thoroughly spookified.
Oh, yeah.
And you can tell the players were just immediately, like, enchanted. Or maybe just overwhelmed by all of the decorations.
They totally loved the seasonal transformation. The source mentioned big spiders, these little green bats everywhere, massive jack-o'-lanterns, glowy ghosts. It really set a scene.
And the White House makeover, that was something. Crates turned into coffins, Grim Reapers standing guard, castle decorations.
Yeah, it's hard to stay focused on, saving the city when your base looks like a slightly cheesy haunted house ride.
Right. But your favorite detail wasn't the Reapers, was it? It was the skeletons.
The skeletons. Yes. One host pointed out how the shackles holding them they wouldn't hold those little bony wrists, called them slackers for not escaping.
Slackers! That's brilliant. It's exactly that kind of, like, detailed, off-the-cuff humor that shows they weren't just playing, they were experiencing it.
Totally. That attention to weird detail is so key in these intense co-op sessions.
And that same kind of focus, it immediately shifted to the seasonal objective, the outfit grind. They were trying to figure out how to earn the Houndsman and Sinister Shade outfits, the cool stuff.
But, patience isn't always easy when you want to look cool now. So an executive decision was made.
Yes. The Scarecrow uniform, bought straight up with premium credits.
Yep. Instant fashion statement.
Which immediately led to one of those classic gaming frustrations, didn't it? The annoying hassle of changing apparel loadouts. And then realizing that this very fashionable choice might have some tactical drawbacks.
Drawbacks defined entirely by the fabric. You got the Scarecrow badge, sure, but also this constant, existential fear of rain.
Soggy straw, they joked about it, right? Turning into wet hay.
Which, logically, gives you a plus to burn damage. Basically the most flammable armor set possible.
It makes a terrifying kind of sense. Okay, so beyond the fashion risks, the main event objective was hunting these mini warhounds.
The classic hunt the rare spawn objective.
Yeah.
They immediately compare them to, treasure goblins or dingers. Those quick, valuable rewards if you can actually spot them in all the chaos.
But spotting them was the challenge. They mentioned the confusion seeing a normal-sized warhound running around.
Right, and having to stop mid-firefight and squint. Is that the tiny one? The event one?
It shows that cognitive load, doesn't it? Processing high-stakes combat and tiny seasonal cosmetic criteria all at once.
That's a perfect summary of the experience.
Yeah.
Just constant mental gear shifting. And speaking of unexpected shifts, that takes us from the fun-themed stuff into, mission anomalies where things got properly weird.
Oh, yeah, they did. The first frustration they hit was a super common one for these timed event things, the hostage rescue.
Ugh, the disappearing prompt. We've all been there. They were dealing with that release the hostage message just vanishing way too early.
Leading to that frantic search, looking for the little icon on the right side of the screen.
And finally, finding the hostage, as one host put it dramatically, in the library with the candlestick.
Cluedo style. Only for the reward to be.
Capital trash. Yep. High effort, extremely low reward.
The ultimate anticlimax. You fight the UI, you save the person, and you get literal trash. Perfect.
And amidst that frustration, we got one of the best little anecdotes The the footwear observation.
The unlaced boots, yes. One host just points out that the other's boots were like stout, sturdy, but totally undone.
Yeah, pointing out, hey, those unlaced stout boots aren't doing much for ankle support in a gunfight, buddy.
That is peak co-op brain, middle of a tactical situation, and your main focus is your teammates' questionable life choices regarding shoelaces.
Hilarious. It's that real-world annoyance just bleeding straight into the game talk, which actually is a perfect lead-in to their main mission objective, the DCD Lab Daily, where the threat was kind of ripped from the headlines almost.
Yeah, the stakes there felt surprisingly serious. The outcasts weaponizing a green poison from an asymptomatic carrier. That's pretty heavy for a game objective.
Still very current, yeah. And the solution was classic video game logic. Basically, tactical brute force.
Right. Deal with the biohazard by initiating the decontamination protocol, which meant hitting the main fuel line in the basement.
Just a fancy way of saying everything gets sterilized. Turn this complex bio-threat into a clear target. Find the fuel line, make it go boom, threat gone. Simple.
But even facing that whole scenario, their minds, again, found the absurd, which brings us to the visual detail that just perfectly sums up this whole deep dive.
Uh-oh. I know where this is going.
They were running up some stairs mid-mission, and one host just stops staring and blurts out something about seeing massive butt plugs on the stairs.
Okay. Expert clarification required here for anyone listening who might be picturing something else entirely. What they were actually seeing
commenting on repeatedly
was the newel post.
the technical term, a newel post. That big, sometimes fancy post at the end of a staircase railing.
Correct. Very common in certain architectural styles. But, under combat stress, the brain sees familiar shapes and just defaults to the most juvenile interpretation possible.
And once that idea is out there, it never goes away. It became a running joke, right? Immediately tied into other stuff, like food getting ruined by rain.
Leading to the wonderfully bizarre phrase, wet butt plug bacon.
Wet butt plug bacon. It's proof. The human mind under pressure gravitates towards the absurd every time.
Definitive proof. And that mix of high-stakes gameplay and high absurdity commentary followed them straight into the really intense part of the session.
The legendary summit run.
This was the big push. They decided to tackle the easiest legend, starting legendary difficulty on Floor 1 Summit.
But even easy legendary is just a massive jump up, isn't it?
Huge. The escalation was instant, brutal. They start running through the first few floors, bam, rogue agents show up, which is always just a fight for your life.
And resources just vanished. One host admitted, sounding a little panicked, used all my med kits just in those first few floors.
Yeah, the gap between heroic and legendary is enormous. That's the key thing for listeners to grasp. It's not just more health on the enemies.
Their whole behavior changes.
Totally. On legendary, they sprint constantly, they flank like crazy. Their damage output forces you into this super controlled, slow approach. If you rush, you fail. Simple as that.
And the game itself seemed to be falling apart on them up there. They mentioned floating boxes, floating lanterns. Like, on Legendary, even gravity is unstable and out to get you.
And amidst all that chaos, technical glitches, killer AI, the gear management frustration starts creeping back in.
Oh, yeah. The classic annoyance of game updates, messing up your inventory order so you can't find anything quickly.
Right when you need it most. And that hunt for perfect gear.
Let's quickly break down that jargon. They were searching for gear mods with full 10-value stats. Why is that specific number so important?
Okay, yeah. So in this game, those 10-value mods, they represent the absolute maximum, the capped performance for a specific stat. Could be critical hit damage, armor regen, whatever.
Anything less than 10 is suboptimal.
Exactly. It's the difference between a decent boost and hitting peak efficiency.
Yeah.
And on Legendary, you absolutely need peak efficiency. There's no room for almost.
That hunt for perfection, for that tiny edge, it brings us to maybe the most relatable moment of frustration in the whole source doc.
The Allen key.
The Allen key analogy. The mutual deep-seated hatred for the Allen key.
It's universal, isn't it?
They spent actual time just ranting about it, how it's tiny, it's slippery, it strips if you look at it wrong.
And yet, this tiny, unreliable piece of metal is somehow the foundation of all modern flat-pack furniture and half our tech gadgets. It feels like a betrayal.
And that's the insight, right? It wasn't just a random rant. It connected directly to a real-world thing, a 3D printer screw stripping after being used just once.
Yeah, they link that frustration, that feeling of a broken, unreliable tool in real life, something that should work, to the frustration of broken game mechanics or gear that doesn't perform as expected.
It makes high-level gaming suddenly relatable to anyone who manages any complex system, really, whether it's a tiny screw holding furniture together or a specific gear talent you need to survive.
When that component fails, when the system lets you down unexpectedly.
The whole thing can just collapse. The Allen key is basically a metaphor for system unreliability.
Perfectly put. And that idea that unreliability and the sheer resource drain is why they ultimately made a really smart call. Despite the intensity, after hitting multiple rogue agents,
They decided to stop.
Yep. Bailed after 5 floors of Legendary.
They called it running away, but let's reframe that. It wasn't failure, was it? It was a strategic pivot.
Absolutely. Legendary just chews through time and resources like nothing else. Knowing when to cut your losses, when the risk of a full wipe just isn't worth a tiny chance of reward on the next floor, that's strategic maturity.
It really is. They kept their loot, kept their sanity.
And crucially, kept their excitement for the next run. That's a tactical win in my book.
Definitely. They absolutely succeeded in that core mission, providing those intense objectives. Yeah, but mixed with those hilarious detours, from the unlaced boots to the architectural butt plugs.
And the big takeaway here, for you listening, is that mastery isn't just about damage numbers or, sterilizing green poison in a lab.
Right.
It's about navigating this huge information overload, constantly spotting threats and opportunities, and somehow keeping a sense of humor when everything around you is turning into soggy straw or relying on dodgy components.
Yeah, and this whole deep dive ended on a really interesting little discovery, didn't it? Regarding gear management and just system awareness.
It did. When they were checking their loop caches after the run, they found a pistol talent they didn't recognize, something potentially new.
Sport mode.
Sport mode, yeah, the very last talent on the list. Seemingly undocumented, or at least not something they'd seen in the established community guides or builds.
Which, in a game like this, where things get figured out so quickly, finding something unknown is rare.
And potentially game-changing. It raises a really important question, I think, for you, the learner, to mull over.
Which is,
how often do we rely only on the known rules, the official gear lists, the established procedures in whatever complex system we're dealing with, game work, whatever?
right, are we missing something valuable?
Exactly. What game-changing surprises, what little sport modes are we missing because we aren't looking closely for those small, maybe undocumented tweaks that could totally change our approach? Keep searching those caches.